And here's the third. Let's go. Let's do this tonight.
All right. Just remember what I've taught you.
What the fuck is that?
Hey, yo.
Let's go while we're young.
Oh, man. Oh, man. It is so good to be here. It is so nice to be here in your ears. How have you been? You good? Everything nice? It was a kind of a long week, wasn't it? A crazy week, a wild experience of 10 million things all happening all at the same time. And it seems like this week, frankly, got away from me a little bit. It really feels like, 35 things all cropped up at once and exploded, and I had to move things around, and it feels weird to be doing this on a Friday. I know it's a surprise for some people, but hey, I'm doing it, and it's going to be really good. So thanks for being here. Thanks for having me in your ears. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for enjoying, and I hope you get some use out of this. So, shall we do the intro? Ladies and gentlemen, guys, girls, guys, gals, non-binary pals, I swear I've done this before. Writers, makers, doers, dreamers, hopefuls, planners, plotters, thinkers, one-dayers, one-day-at-a-timers, workers, scribblers, dabblers, podcasters, editors, cinematographers, hoes, dancers, anybody who's ever shaken what their mama did give them, everybody who can appreciate the quality of a good cheesesteak, the absolute units that I talked to today, firefighters, some, not all, the cool ones, you know who you are, people who enjoy cheese on things, people who understand that sometimes you want your bread toasted, enthusiasts of candy, anybody with a good, strong, sweet tooth, and of course, most importantly, the comrades. It is the Writers Chat for, let's call this February the 4th, but it used to be February the 2nd. And I am your esteemed person in your ears, John Adamus, the writer next door. It is so surreal to be here on a day that is not Wednesday or a Monday, but here we are all the same. And if you've never heard this before, well, you have come at a fine time. Let me just tell you the confluence of excitement you are about to experience, because this is the Writer's Chat. This is your chance to ask questions and get answers to them, actual answers from an actual person who actually does work in the actual field, who's trying his best to actually help you and not just tell you to go click and read a blog post or click an affiliate link or sell you on a bullshit class or try for some reason to divorce you of $10,000 for absolutely no benefit whatsoever. I'm not going to make you any false promises. I'm not going to tell you that, oh, my one program is all you need. I'm going to actually try and tell you that, you can roll up your sleeves and here's how you do a thing and here's how you make a thing. And this is what's going to help you succeed. However it is you want to succeed, whatever it is you want to succeed with, however you want to produce it, I am here to give you the answers to the best of my ability. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having me in your ears. All right. Shall we get started? Do I have an ad spot? Let's just double check. It's been a while. Do I have an ad spot? I do have an ad spot. Oh my God, when did I make this? It feels like I'm on some other planet right now. I'd like you to go to YouTube. Not right this second, please. I'm in the middle of talking. But later, at some point, when you have some time, I'd like you to go to YouTube. And I'd like you to type in the search box. Line Goes Up. If you're a member of the Discord, you've already got this link. But go look for Line Goes Up. And then I want you to watch that. It's a good one. It's a little long. It's 2 hours. But it will absolutely positively explain to you in very, very clear English why NFTs are stupid. And why anybody who wants to get involved with them is making a mistake. why they are one of the worst choices, if not the current worst choice in the falling civilization that we exist in, and one of the most predatory, crushing, harmful things capitalism has ever produced. Because, if you really wanted to gamble, why not take a gamble on things like love or other metaphors so that you could actually gain something? Because NFTs are stupid. So that is my creative spotlight for this week. Go watch Line Goes Up by Dan Olson, Folding Ideas, on YouTube. Line Goes Up. Go check it out. It's well worth your time. Have some air horns. All right. I think that's it. We good? I have no questions from WhatsApp this week. I have no questions from Discord. We're just going straight in to question 1. Buying from Wish? Yeah, I suppose you could buy from Wish in terms of an alternate gambling suggestion. I never really struggled with gambling because I never had enough self-esteem to risk anything. So, yeah. I mean, my grandmother did get me like $2 in scratch-off tickets when it was Christmas time or whatever. And it was like a big deal when I would win $5, but that was, oh God, that was like 30 years ago. All right. I just feel really old now, but sometimes you get neat stuff. Really? I'm just scared. I kind of like the idea of I order a thing and then I get a thing. The idea that it's just kind of send me something. Yeah, that's, I mean, do I get to specify a list of things I want? Because butts is going to be on that list, but I don't think I'm going to get a butt from the internet. Well, I don't think I'm going to get a butt on the internet from Wish. How's that? I've wished for a lot of butts. We all know how that goes. Let's go to the first question. John, how do I revise a fight scene so that it's more detailed, but not slower? I love a good technical question. I love a good chat that starts with a technical question. All right, first we have to define what slower is. Slower refers to the pacing. The idea that it feels like it's taking forever to have things occur or have an end result reached or something like that. It's still going to take, if we're counting practically, the same number of words on the page, but it gives you that feeling, that vibe, that concept that this is taking forever, even though it's a page, whether it's fast moving or it's a page, whether it's the worst thing known to mankind. So how do you make it more detailed but not slower? Impact. If you focus on the impact of things, the import of things, if you're going to hit and where the hit goes and how hard the hit is, not so much the consequences, although sometimes that's an option. But if you talk about things in terms of impact and danger potential, it gives you a chance to focus in on the things that are being hit, how they're being struck, by what they're being struck, in what way they're being struck. And then talk about the ramifications. So that you're not so much detailing a list of actions. We don't want to get into the habit of just saying A punches B, B ducks, B kicks A does this, B does that. We don't want to just recite things like it's a fight recipe. We want to make sure the reader feels like they're there. And so when we position a reader, because remember, every sentence is a camera. We want to position that reader so that sometimes they're between A and B. And they're coming over here with A, and they're coming over here with B, and they're trying to avoid this, and they feel like the punches. You know when you watch a 3D movie, and like a good shot comes by, and you feel the need to duck or move your head or something? That's the kind of feeling you want to convey to the reader. Now, part of that's going to be your word choice, but part of that's also going to be your sentence construction and the thing you choose to focus on. So really think, okay, I'm the reader for a minute. You're the writer. So as a writer, imagine being the reader. Imagine being the viewer of this scene who is positioned in the invisible, what do we want to call it? Nether space? That sounds dirtier than I meant. The invisible, distance between fighter A and fighter B. Yeah, that sounds less gross. Let's go with that. So we're between A and B and we're immaterial, so the moves phase through us. But all the same, we want to make sure it feels like, oh, this is a big deal. Here comes the left. Here comes the kick. Here comes the elbow or whatever. Here comes the boom of whatever kind. That's how you shift it so that you're giving detail, but you're making that detail matter. It's not a quantity issue. Here, let me get all up on the microphone so that you can hear me say this. It is not a quantity issue. You do not have to detail every last inch of everything so that the reader gets it. Yes, I made big air quotes. They don't have to get it because you're not going to give them a quiz at the end of the chapter to make sure they counted the number of verbs you used. You want them to make sure that they feel like they've been in that room. They've been in that fight. They've been between those two people. It felt dangerous. It felt real. And impact, the effects of the move, is more important than knowing the specifics of what the move was. That's how you make a fight scene more detailed without affecting its pace. Because your sentences can be long and detailed and spell this out in terms of what it's talking about and what you want the reader to focus on without modulating the speed at which the fight happens. It's not like a metronome where one sentence, tick, 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 tick. You can play with time over the course of multiple sentences. And you're not limited to one sentence, one action, one sentence, one action. It can be more fluid than that, but you've got to remember to think about this in terms of what is the reader going to experience? What do you want them to picture in their head? That's going to make the big difference here. What an amazing first question. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. Let's go do the second one. Second one, bit of a change in pace, but okay, here we are. Cool. Let's say I submit my work to a publisher. What are the next 3 things that are going to happen? Okay. It doesn't matter if the publisher's big or small or new at this or not, because it's all the same process. It just depends on the number of people who are going to do each of these steps. But here's how this goes. Let's assume you're sending it through a WordPress plugin, because a lot of places do that, where they've automated their submission process to some way, shape, or form. And I'm still not happy with where the microphone is placed, so bear with me. Here's what happens. You submit your thing. You upload it. It goes across the internet to where it's going to be. It immediately gets dumped into an inbox. Now, that inbox has a certain number of people who have access to it. It's probably going to be at least 3 people. One's going to be the person in charge of the website because they usually notify people that, hey, there's some mail. 2, it's going to be probably some kind of middle management or superior person in the totem pole because they're going to have to ultimately have a meeting about the thing you just sent. And 2, it's going to be the person or persons who are going to read that thing. Or I guess that's 3. 3, the person or persons who's going to read whatever that thing is. Maybe that's one person a piece. Maybe it's the same person if the publisher is small. Maybe it's 2 people, whatever. But those are the first 3 possible humans who, outside of you and who's ever read it prior to that, will see your work. What they're going to do is they're going to mark your stuff down. They're going to download your file, and they're probably going to dump it into a spreadsheet. Maybe that's a Google Doc. Maybe that's an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe that's some other software, but mostly the end result is the same. It's going to catalog your name, your contact information, the title of your book, the word count, a brief summary about what it's about, and when it came in. And then it's going to probably have some kind of designation to assign what's called responsibility. Responsibility is the idea of, it's like checking a book out at the library. Who's going to read this thing? Now, every publisher does this slightly differently, but the end result is a number of people, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 4, who knows. They're going to read this file. Now, depending if you sent them just the manuscript or just some pages or a synopsis and a few pages or whatever, some people are going to take the synopsis. Some people are going to take the pages. Everybody's going to look at the query, though. And they're going to make a preliminary decision based on the query. Do they like the query? Is it well constructed? Was the email, if you wrote one, or if the form you filled out included sort of a query, like the email took the place, the WordPress plugin took the place of a query that you would email? Does that pitch sound okay? Does it sound engaging? That's going to be your first line. That's the first sort of checkpoint in this process. Does the query work? If the query doesn't, you get rejected. They're probably going to send you a form letter, something to the effect of, thanks so much for your submission, but this really isn't what we're looking for. Best of luck in your future endeavors. Or this isn't something we're looking for at this time. Something vague and sort of like forcefully standoffish. It's impersonal and cold because it's usually just a template. But that's the first thing. If the query doesn't work, they're not looking at the pages. They're not looking at the synopsis. They're not going to email you and go, hey, writer, how long have you been working on this? They want no human connection here. They're making a clinical decision. Sometimes that takes an hour. Sometimes it takes a day. Sometimes it takes a week. Remember, you're not the first and only thing in that inbox. You are one among many. As to how many is, depends on who you're submitting to. Maybe you get, maybe you're number 25 in a submission window. Maybe you're number 250. The reason why they ask for a certain number of days is because they want to give themselves the ability to stop and think and talk about stuff if it's on the fence. Because here's your next checkpoint. They like your query. It's delightful. Everything's good. But they read the pages, and the pages are not good. Not good at all. Like, not, this could be better if it was edited. It's, no. The query says it sounds like it's okay, but the writing is not. And the decision gets made at that point as to whether or not it's worth their time and investment getting those pages better. Do we bring in an editor? Do we do it in-house? Do we hire a coach, or do we coach the writer ourselves? How do we get this writer up to snuff? And by snuff, it's how can we get this writer to a sellable, saleable, marketable point? Sometimes that just means you rewrite a paragraph. Sometimes it means you sit down with them and literally have, okay, this is character development. This is how you do it. Somebody like me is frequently brought in to like fix things at this level. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's a sign of interest. But if it's decided that it's not worth the investment, they'll probably ask you to, make some changes and send it back. Like what's called an R&R, revise and resubmit, or they'll form reject you because it's the equivalent of fuck it, we don't want to deal with it. Cool. Here's the next thing that could happen. Let's say they read the query, love the query. Let's say they read the pages and the pages are pretty good. They want to make some changes. They have some ideas. They want to have it line up a certain way because of other stuff they've got going on or other agendas they might have. They will probably give you notes and ask for more content. This is where you get your partial submissions. This is where you get your full submissions. This is where they ask for more details. This is a good sign. You want this. Because even if they reject you now from this point, even after, let's say they say, hey, could you send us, the first 25 pages or the first 15 pages or the first 30 pages or the first whatever number of pages, even if they read those pages and they're like, yeah, we thought about it, but no, you might be able to leverage them for notes. You might be able to go, hi, I know you asked for a partial. I was wondering if you could provide for me. Do you have any notes or clarifications, things I could do if I were able to revise and resubmit this? And a lot of places will go, yeah, sure, here you go. And a lot of places will be like, nah, kick rocks. Because, well, they want it to be difficult for you, whereas some people genuinely realize that they need your book and you need their publishing if you're going in that route. So most people will provide some kind of note to you if you just say, hey, it seems like we were pretty far along in this process. You're essentially sending a business version of what the fuck happened. So you can ask for help and they might give you some help. And this process might require a couple back and forth. This isn't just like a, hey, we loved your thing, except ... and then they don't hear from you. You might have the door open at this point and you can press your advantage. You can sit around and go, okay, well, I'm going to send this stuff. What do I do? Does this work? You can start having that dialogue. Assume from that moment that instead of working uphill trying to earn their favor, assume that you are now working at an even slope and you are trying to make this relationship more successful. Assume the positive, which I know for a lot of writers is very difficult, but you've come this far. they're probably willing to give you not necessarily the benefit of the doubt, because that's not really the way to phrase it, but they're probably willing to give you help and help you succeed because you're already so close to the process. Because the publisher wants to say yes. They don't want to spend money. Here's the paradox. They don't like spending money, but they do want to publish books because that means they make money. So if you're getting partials, large partial submissions, if you're getting feedback, you can press that advantage. You can ask in an email, hey, when do you want to hear back from me with this? And you can push that. That's not too aggressive. That's not rude. Because again, you're trying to accomplish the same goal. You're trying to produce a book. So are they. You can, what's the word I want to use? I'm making a pushing gesture. You can push them on this stuff. Don't, be a jerk about it and like make melodramatic comments online or something about it. But you can certainly say like, hey, what do I need to do to make this work? Dress that up so that it sounds more like you than me. But I think you see what I'm saying. That's the next 3 steps. From there, after that, they say yes. They, will put together some kind of contract. They'll probably email you and then try to call you or vice versa. They will communicate with you in some way where you will speak to a human. And then depending on the size of their publisher, the calendar, the money, all that stuff, they'll start having those discussions with you. That might be one long discussion. It might be multiple short discussions. There's lots of different variations in this, but those are all post-yes conversations, meaning they've said yes and they want to sign you. Those are the next 3 steps. Awesome question. Hell yeah. Question 3. Why do I think people still want to call themselves wannabe writers? You see this in like Twitter bios and stuff. And I think people do it. I think people do it for 2 reasons. One, they only consider themselves a thing, in this case, a writer, after they've done something, after they've produced something, after they have won whatever contest or issue they've had. They want to, it only counts after I've completed it. It doesn't count while I'm doing it. It only counts because I'm done. I'm not an athlete until I win a medal, if we're using an Olympic thing, or I'm not a cook until I've finished the meal. So I think a lot of it has to do with goal setting and where they see validation. It's wrong. It's actively holding them back. It's actively preventing them from reconsidering their success. They're putting a limit on themselves. They're forcing themselves down a certain path to success. They're making it harder for themselves to succeed, but they don't feel good enough, and there's not enough support being given to them by people, by society, by constructs, by social groups, by whatever's. They're not getting enough support, so they tend to think of themselves as underachieving even though they're making progress. That's part 1. Part 2, it's insulation. It's the idea that if I call myself a wannabe and I screw up, or I get rejected a lot, or I make mistakes, or I fail, or I have to give up, I don't have to also carry with it a big sense of failure. Because I wasn't really the thing. I was a wannabe. I tried. It's just a try. I'm going to take some of the sting out of fucking up. I want to just be okay. I can use that sort of deflective, deprecating title. I'm a wannabe. I'm an almost. What's some of the other ones I see? Wannabe, almost, one day. Baby writer is also one that makes me want to like yank out my eyebrows with something rusty. Just this, any kind of language that tends to soften or weaken your progress or diminish your value. Anything that you're using as though like legitimacy or good quality is up here and you're down well below it just because of some horse shit you've decided to agree to that isn't a standard universal thing, but you've decided that everybody has to be better than you because you're you. I'm speaking from imposter syndrome experience here. I frequently tell everybody that, everybody else is like way up here and I'm way down here. I get it. I hear you. I'm calling you out. because it's easier that way. It takes some of the sting out. It takes some of the pressure off, because I can still try, but it means a little less. I can still do, and if it works, great. I'm lucky. Good for me. It's a fluke. But if I fail, and let's be real, I'll probably fail. I'm a terrible human being who doesn't really believe in himself, and there's all kinds of issues and constructed opinions and foolish beliefs that I've allowed myself to accept by playing old tapes of my weaknesses rather than my successes. Then I'll use this language to keep myself from feeling good enough so that I don't really have to challenge myself. That's why I think writers do it. Because if they just accepted reality, that the minute you start writing, whether it's first draft, 10th draft, 50th draft, 5 millionth rejection or not, the minute you started doing the thing, you are that thing. The minute you started taking photographs, you're a photographer. The minute you started writing, you're a writer. It's not about the end goal. It's about the progress you're making forward. It's the change in state. It's the metamorphosis you're undergoing. And if you keep focused on the end goal, you can always move that goalpost so that you never have to worry. You can always find a reason to justify not being motivated. You can always justify being afraid. It's insulating language. I would love for it to stop, because I believe in you. You don't have to be a wannabe writer. You're just not published yet. It's probably, I get that it's scary, but it's also something that you can do at your own pace in loads of different ways and still get the same result. This isn't like an amusement park ride where you have to be, X amount of high or cool or whatever to ride the ride. You can just get on the damn ride. You don't have to be a wannabe anymore. Good third question. Do we have any questions from anybody in any chat? I didn't say hello to the chat when I came in. Twitch? Hey, how you doing, Twitch? Zoom? What's up, Zoom? Did I eat today? Yes, I did eat today. So let's see. What did I have for breakfast today? Was an apple Danish. It was banging. Lunch was interesting because lunch was some corned beef. And it was not as salty as I thought, so it didn't make me thirsty all day. It was really, really good. It was like real fresh. I was surprised by how fresh it was. It was very tasty. And then dinner was good. There was a fruit salad. There was a little bit of meat leftovers. Just kind of like grab a couple things and shovel it in my face because I'm recording tonight. But yes, I have eaten 3 times. I have had 14 glasses of water because I knew I was going to be talking for a while. So I'm working on glass 14. I've got glass 15 on deck. It's been a good day. By the way, I've also had some candy. I had some very nice people today send me some very nice care packages. And if you're ever looking for something that will make you reconsider 14 glasses of water, don't you have to pee all the time? Not now. I'm good now, thanks. But there have been some trips to the bathroom over there across the hall. Yeah, that's happened a lot of times. Yep. But it's also, according to my cardiologist, a decent amount of water I should be aiming for on the regular because I feel pretty fucking good. But in terms of candy, I've never had sour Skittles before. I don't know how to say this in a professional way, so I will just say this in the way of my people of North Jersey. Yo, that shit's sour. That shit's sour as fuck. Those things, man, they're very good. Very good. But they are not exactly something you want to shovel in your face by the handful the way you do for regular Skittles or something, or M&Ms. You don't just shovel. It's one at a time for me, because those sour lime ones, yeah, they'll set you right. You will reconsider some life decisions on some sour lime ones. They're very good. That's also one of the reasons why I had 14 glasses of water, Troy, because you eat 3 of those at a time, and all of a sudden, your body seeks water. It was good, though. I dug it. And I had a peanut butter cup because, honestly, come on. It's a peanut butter cup. It's love in a little package. It's perfect. So, yes, I had some candy. I've had some water. I've had some food. I'm good to go. I did whack my nose. I might put the picture on Twitter. I did whack my nose with the microphone boom. I was sitting here having a conversation with somebody, and you ever get a text message from somebody? I know this is totally not a writing thing, but fuck it. You ever get a text message where you just move your head because it's like, oh shit, I can't believe that happened. Like, I can't believe they said that thing. And I had this microphone here because I was getting set up for this. This happened like 10 minutes before I went on. And I snapped my head back and I clipped the side of the microphone mount, and it didn't break my nose, but man, it scraped the top. It bled. It freaked me out. So that's why I haven't gone full. I'm not sure the Twitch terms of service is allowing me to like demonstrate this, but it's like a good little lump that cracked me on the nose. It's right underneath the edge of my glasses, so I can't see it, but I can feel it when I touch it. Man, that'll change your perspective. That'll give you something to think about. So, yeah, it's been a good day, though. You're right. It's been a great day, and I'm very happy to have any of you, all of you, here tonight. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Twitch, say hi to Zoom. Zoom, say hi to Twitch. Everybody say hi to YouTube in the future. YouTube will probably... Let's see, my last YouTube upload took 9 hours, so I imagine they'll get this tomorrow. I don't understand. I guess it's gerbils on a wheel or something. So, everybody say hi to YouTube in the future. Are there any other questions? No? We're good? We're good? All right, off we go. Now, I got to tell you this. I planned this stuff on Sunday. So it's been a whole week. And this was a question. I was ready to rant. I was ready to rage. Here's the question. John, you frequently complain about the hashtag writing community. Is there anything good about it? Now, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday were, for me, rough days. A lot of things happened. They were messy. I was tired. I was ready to fight everything on the planet. And when this question came up, I was ready to I was ready to throw some punches. And I got to say, given the quality of my day today, given the time away from these things, I cannot remember right now the specific thing I wanted to rant about. So instead of a specific one guy said one thing, one time, one where question, I'm going to give you a broad statement. I still think the hashtag writing community is a trap. I think it's too big. I think it's disproportionately aligned with occupying your time and giving you a false sense of community. They love busy work. They love you talking about your work by asking you questions that seem like you're working on your writing, but really they're just asking you to waste time. And they're not actively interested in your success because the hashtag writing community is never going to be your audience unless you are specifically selling how to write books or books about being in the hashtag writing community. Because they're writers. Everybody's going to be trying to sell their books to writers. But the rest of the planet is your audience. That includes people in the hashtag writing community. But there's also loads of human beings who will buy your book who are not on Twitter, who are on Twitter but not part of the hashtag writing community. And one of the things the hashtag writing community really loves to do is give you the impression that they are the be-all and end-all for everything. Because, again, like crabs in a bucket, they're looking to pull you down. They're looking to keep you from really progressing. because they want to keep things moving. They want to keep things talking. They want to stir the pot. They want to make sure there's some drama. They want to make sure there's some tension. They want to make sure people are still using the hashtag as opposed to just going and writing. Have you ever noticed that your big name, successful authors, the authors that everybody wants to talk to or be like or get noticed by or emulate or have careers similar to, do you ever notice they're not on the hashtag writing community doing those little bullshit, what does my character like to drink questions? Do you ever notice that? You wonder why that is? Really, let's stop and think about that for a second. Why don't the big name authors participate in the reindeer games of the hashtag writing community? You think it's because their agent told them not to? Or do you think perhaps, more realistically, it's because they're busy writing? Is there anything good about it, though? Yes. There are two things I can think of that are good about it. Ready? 1, you get to see what other people are doing. You can see how they market. You can see how they pitch. You can see what they market. You can see what they pitch. They're showing you how the sausage gets made. Now, sometimes that's going to be influential in a positive way, because you'll look at that and go, oh, that's a good idea. Okay. I didn't think about doing my stuff that way. Cool. And other times you'll look at that sausage and go, oof, nope, that ain't it. I'm going to take my stuff in a different direction. So then you know what not to do. So one good thing, you get to see what other people are doing. Second good thing, it at least gives you something to consume a number of characters in a tweet. It gives you an illusion that you are part of a group that genuinely cares about you. You might find some people, you might find some friends, and that's wonderful. But please know that those humans you talk to, those humans who you individuate from that group, will mean more to you than the hashtag ever could. So yes, it is an opportunity to connect with humans, but you must be willing to unplug them from the hashtag writing community, because you're going to be stronger and better for each other independent of the social media trap. Those are the things that are good about it. Everything else, and I'm including my own visibility, algorithmic success, whether or not people have muted me for reasons real and imagined or whatever else, everything else, just yeet it into whatever dumpster fire you like. We have so many to choose from. But yeah, you can meet some people and you can see how sausage gets made. Those are the good things about the community. What an awesome question. I'm sorry I don't have like a blood pressure raising rant about it. I just don't remember what I was going to rant about. If it occurs to me, I will throw some air horns or something and bring it back. But at the time, no, we're good. On to the next one. Question 5 comes to me from somebody who doesn't want me to mention a lot of details about their book specifically. So I'm not going to give you details. I'm not even going to tease it or anything. I'm just going to tell you that, hey, it comes to me from a romance author. Here we go. Here's the question. How many intimate or sexual scenes should I have in my romance novel once I revise it? And again, and I think I talked about this. I know I talked about this in an earlier stream. There's no magic number. You want to have one? If it makes sense for the story, have one. If you're curious, by the way, what case would you only have one in? If that's sort of the big earned goal of the story, we resolve the plot and our payoff is the sex scene. We finally get our two characters together. Will they, won't they? They finally do. That's why you'd only have the one. Maybe you don't have any. Maybe because it's more of a true romance in the old, not the movie, like an old-fashioned romance novel that was more legit capital R romance or capital R romantic, as opposed to how many euphemisms do we have for bits? So maybe we don't have any. Maybe you have 10. Maybe you have 30. Maybe it's just people humping until they get chafed. Who knows? There is no number that's right. You can have whatever number in whatever degree to whatever kind of intimacy you want in your story. It doesn't have to be a certain way. I don't care if it's hetero or homo or poly or non-binary or ace or arrow or demi or any other kind of intimacy or intrapersonal connectivity. It doesn't matter how many you have. Just have some or none. Do whatever works for your story. What's not mentioned in this question, and what I don't know because I didn't get any context from the DM that sent me this, I don't know if you're asking about cutting them out. The reason why you would cut those scenes out is not because they're, oh my God, they're too steamy. No, that's not it. Don't, you want to use one of those GIFs where it's like, somebody spraying themselves with a mister or constantly fanning themselves in an exaggerated way. No, you want to cut them because they're scenes that slow down the overall pacing and development of the story. They're just extra. They might be nice, but they're extra. Revise, remove, insert, deal with, edit, trim, restructure, whatever, however many scenes you want. Have whatever amount of intimacy or sexuality or sex that helps your story go. It's up to you. Good question, though. Question 6. No, that harp's not loud enough, John. We can get that sucker up. Let's go. There we go. Gentle advice. How do I ask... Sorry, I swallowed a dwarf. How do I ask people to review my book? Like this. Hi. I'm, insert your name here. I've written a book. Would you like to review it? Have you read it? After you read it, could you review it? If you read my book, title of book here, would you mind leaving me a review? I genuinely appreciate knowing how you feel about my work. All the best, comma, your name. You just ask. It is one of the scariest things in the world. Absolutely, positively, one of the pants-shittingliest things you can do to find out what somebody you don't know, somebody you've maybe never met or barely know, or maybe worse, you have some kind of emotional connection to find out what they think about your work that you have prized and protected and hidden and worked on in secret and maybe felt nervous about or shame about or panic about or anxiety or excitement or thrill or guilt or whatever about, to finally find out what someone else thinks about that work can be potentially transformative and also potentially ruinous. I have seen people read reviews and break down. I have seen people read reviews and feel relieved. I have seen people read reviews and get furious. There's loads of different responses you can have to reviews. But no matter what, it comes down to you asking for them. Literally, or I guess that's not the right word, technically, the algorithm is run by review. The activity on pages, the activity of sales is dependent on the number of reviews and stars and ratings, because books that don't get those things just kind of get pushed off to the side, slid away into the minimized shadows of everything. Whereas the stuff that is actively discussed, not necessarily automatically always good. I mean, that's for some bullshit websites, but just in general, to have that interaction, to have that discussion, to have an ongoing chain or back and forthness. Is that not what I'm trying to say? Back and forthness. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. To have that communication, that line of dialogue open where people are reading comments and leaving comments and writing reviews and disagreeing and agreeing and leaving a volume of statements, even if it's just 10 million people giving it like 1 star because it made Star Wars gay or something stupid like that. As long as there's chatter, the algorithm perceives that as a success. And when it's coupled with sales, as in the sales number, the quantity sold is increasing, the algorithm will promote that 9 times out of 10, no matter what site we're talking about, as something desirable. Because look, everybody's talking about it. You don't want to miss out, do you? And that whole system, that whole promotional engine is driven by people leaving reviews. So it is not uncommon to ask those people who have bought your book to leave a review. Now, maybe you want to track that. Maybe you want to go first through your newsletter subscribers or your website people or your blog readers, people who you theoretically assume will have made the purchase of your book or who have read it or who have been following along or whatever. Those people, that sort of baked audience that you've developed, they're the first people you ask. And you can just ask flat out, hey, if you read this book or read my thing or checked out my excerpts or downloaded my stuff or done this, whatever it is, if you've consumed the media I've created, please take 5 minutes and leave some kind of review somewhere. It doesn't have, and you're not going to demand it be a certain worded review. Please use the following words. You're not demanding that they only say good things about you. You're not a fascist tech bro, so you're able to suffer criticism if you need to. But you're just asking for some kind of engagement from other humans. It can feel a little indelicate. It can feel a little messy. And it is a risk because, yeah, who knows? Somebody might read your stuff and go, ugh, this is terrible. But there's also a 50-50 chance that they don't say that. It's one of the only nice binaries we have in human existence. There is a 50-50 chance at any given time someone will say they like a thing or not like a thing. So why aren't you giving that 50-50 a chance? Just ask. I can't guarantee that they will leave a review. I tell loads of people, hey, go check out this video. Hey, check out this link. If you like what you're listening to, say something in chat. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Feel free to give me a follow on Twitch. All that good stuff. I have to assume people are hearing me. I have to assume people are doing that. You got to try. I believe in your ability to do it. And over time, it becomes, instead of this issue of timidity, this thing where you're afraid, oh my God, I got to ask for reviews. They're going to hate it. I'm going to find out the truth that I've failed. It instead becomes this issue of, yeah, I need reviews, you guys. Like, give me some stars. Give me something. Let's work together on growing this stuff. Let's share the good stuff. It just takes time. It's hard, but you can do it. That's how you ask people. You just ask in whatever way is most comfortable for you to communicate, in whatever way is best to whomever you think would help. You just ask. Don't be afraid. You're good enough to ask. And people will surprise you positively if you give them a chance. So give them a chance. Great question. Love that question. Are there any questions from anybody? Oh my God, chat blew up. Hi, how are you? I see new people. Hello, new people. It's wonderful to see you. It's great for you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Anybody have any questions? Anybody ever smack themselves in the face with a boom pole? Anybody realize 2 minutes before you got to do something important, there's a hole in your pants in an inconvenient spot? So I'm currently wearing what I would call comfy pants. Comfy pants are the third greatest invention of mankind. There is an unflattering hole near a seam. You know what I'm saying? No, I can't show you. There's a terms of service. But I just noticed it like 5 minutes before I sat down. Like I'm looking like, oh, hey, look at that, a hole. And I'm really worried that if I move my leg in any capacity whatsoever, and I tend to fidget, so my leg is currently in like a yoga-esque pose. I'm really concerned that the minute I move, this hole is becoming like a tear. And yeah, I could fix it, but then we're having a completely different kind of chat after dark, and I think there should be saxophone music, or like I should be breathily whispering into the microphone to tell you like sweet nothings or something. But that's a different story for a different day. Anyway, are there any questions? Everybody good? We had a good week? I know it's Friday. I know it's strange to be here, but I appreciate you being here, and you mean the world to me. I am always and forever fascinated by the usernames people come up with. You guys are great. I love you all. You're amazing. You make me laugh. All right. Shall we move on? Nope. There we go. What did you mean when you said that if I've put my book on my blog, I've published it? Okay. This has happened a number of times since the last chat. And I'm not really sure why. And I'm always a little surprised because I kind of thought this was like either common knowledge or obvious. Do you ever wonder why the button on your blog is usually labeled publish? Because you're publishing information. I know that's probably not the legitimate reason. I'm sure there's a techie, blog spacey kind of answer. But you're publishing. You are intending that piece of finished material to be consumed by a reader, right? That's what happens when we publish a book. The means by which they consume it, the vehicle they use to consume it, whether it's your blog or a Kindle or an iPad or some other tablet or a phone or an audiobook or a physical copy or whatever, those are all, although they are individually different from each other, they're all means by which a consumer, somebody who has purchased or acquired the book, can intake your material. That's how they interface with what you've made. So a blog is just as much publishing as the PDF you handed out to 10 friends at your writing group. Now, you might not think of it that way because maybe you want to put an extra hoop on this. Maybe you want to add a little extra spin to this and go, well, it only counts as publishing if I've made money from it. Okay, well, then you've published your book and you've eliminated your ability to receive money unless you've got a paid subscription to your blog. This is also true for a Substack newsletter or anything with a paying option. If you're not making income, you've put your stuff out there for freebies. And that's what you've published. The other issue here, the bigger concern here is you've already produced it. It's on the internet forever. You can take it down. Go ahead, take it down. But I can tell you, because I've done it, you can go far enough back through magic superpowers of the internet, because the internet is forever. People will find a copy if they really want a copy. Once you publish it, once you produce it for consumption, whether that's for free or for pay, whether that's on your blog or printed out or handed out at a bake sale or published traditionally or self-published on demand or converted into an audiobook, anything you've done so that the end reader gets your stuff, you've published your book. And traditional publishing will not touch it because it's been on the blog. Because why would people want to buy a thing that they can go to the blog and read? Even if you pull it down, they're not going to invest that extra time. It doesn't suddenly stop counting just because you put it on your blog. Even if you take it down. Even if it's, oops, I didn't know. You published it, you're done. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. I think that's the metaphor. It's done. You can't undo that. So, and this is also true for Patreon. This is true in any case, on any piece of media, in any way, where you take your stuff and the reader gets it. You published it. So, chances are, if you're listening to this, a whole lot of people just became published authors. And if you're having a hard time reconciling, but wait, I didn't publish it the way I want. That's not real publishing. Well, then you've got to come to terms with that. You've got to reconcile that for yourself, because all of a sudden you published. Just because it didn't go your way, now you know something for next time. Now you've learned. Hey, guess what? Don't do that next time, and you'll do better, one presumes. You published your stuff. Congratulations, you're a published author. Little embarrassing, but fixable. Not the end of the world. Congratulations, you're published. You are legit now. You don't get to make that argument anymore that you're not legit. Have a horn. You did it. Yay. That's what I mean. Welcome to publishing. On to question 8. I just finished my first draft. Have air horns. How bad a sign is it that I didn't use about 20% of my outline? How bad a sign of what? If you didn't tell me just now in this question that there was some percentage of your outline unused, it wouldn't occur to me to even think about the amount of outline you use or not use. It just, it wouldn't matter to me. For all I know, you followed exactly your outline and got exactly the draft you wanted. It's not bad. It doesn't reflect on you in terms of the quality of you being a writer. You're not a shitty writer or bad or wrong or broken just because you didn't follow part of your outline. It's not school. You're not going to get a lower grade or anything. So you didn't use part of your outline. I make notes for things all the time and skip half of it. It's fine. It does not, I mean, I guess if we're talking about, oops, I totally forgot this part of the second act, then yeah, it might reveal some problems with your draft. But if you're talking about stuff you skipped because you felt you didn't need it at the time because the rest of your story was coming together just fine, it's fine. It's okay. It's good. You finished your first draft. That's awesome. Do you know how hard that is for a lot of people? Good job finishing your first draft. Hopefully you do a second draft, and if this is important to you, yes, go back in your second draft and use the whole outline. But in terms of, rendering it or rendering what you're doing wrong or horrible because you didn't do it right, nope, doesn't matter, not a thing. You finished your draft. That's the important part. It's okay. Again, if you didn't say anything, if it was just, hey, I finished my first draft, period, I'd give you air horns and we'd be moving on to question number 9. But publishing people, industry people, we don't really stop and think about like, this person didn't use 7% of their outline. Oh no, we don't sit around with like, he didn't use part of his outline. It's just not a thing. It's okay. If it's important to you to put those scenes in because you like those scenes, put them in the second draft. That's one of the nice things about drafts. We can always have another one. But it's not automatically like a death sentence or something. Use it if you want. Don't use it if you want. Here's a fun fact. Here's a very fun fact. Sometimes authors have a very, very loose outline, write a book, write a draft, write 2 drafts or whatever, and then have to reverse engineer a more complete outline from which they can go forward into deeper draft numbers. So sometimes people write a first draft with a very loose, like I want 1, 2, 3 things. And they sketch together their first draft, and it's loose because it's a first draft, whatever. The goal of a first draft is just to be produced. So they produce their first draft, and then they're like, okay, now I'm going to work backwards from this draft and start building a better skeleton so that when my second draft, my third draft, or whatever, I can go forward with more structure. But it's, for me, with this question, more important that you did your first draft than it is that you got, what's the word I want to use, rigid and fussy about your outline. It's way more important to me that you finished your first draft. Learning to finish things is going to pay better dividends in the end. It's going to do you better long term than slavishly sticking to an outline that you may or may not change over the course of multiple drafts thereafter. Finish means the world. Good job. Great question. Question 9. Why do I always get stuck in the same spot in my work? I'm in first person, and I need to have a conversation that happens away from my main character. All right, we're gonna sit forward in the chair for this one, and I might even go full screen. just so that you hear me. Look, you know what? I'm going to go full screen. We're going full screen. Look, I understand the temptation and the want to detail the story in such a way for people that you have to leave your point of view character to tell the reader what's happening, like way over there where they can't see, because you want to give the reader a complete and accurate and of the time story. Hang on, come here. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because the whole point of having a point of view character, first, second, third omni, whatever, is your ability to direct the reader's focus so that they can be present in the story. If you're jumping around, what you've done is you've mistaken being a complete story, as though we're trying to get a trophy in a video game, for an accurate and well-told story. If two characters have a conversation that doesn't involve a first-person protagonist, you don't have to show that conversation in progress for that conversation to have happened. Because let's say your villain and your goon are having a planning session about how they're going to, beat the snot out of your first-person character. Well, instead of showing the reader that they're having this discussion about how they're going to beat the snot out of the character, the way you can verify that they've had a conversation about it is to show them beating the snot out of the character, because it's not going to be random, because that's just weird. Make sense? The reason you get stuck is because you've got you're locked in. You got your teeth kind of sunk into this idea that you've got to tell this certain story a certain way, because to you it makes sense that way. Now, maybe what you're doing is you're thinking about how this would look on TV or how you would see this on screen, and that's a fine thing, because I talk about every sentence being a camera and teaching you how to be a little bit more cinematic in your writing. But this is one of those wrinkly, red flaggy kind of areas. This is one of those, like, hey, red alert Riker kind of situations. Because just because in a TV show or in a film you'd see somebody cut away and then all of a sudden we'd be in, I don't have a different camera angle, but we'd be over here in a different camera angle. We don't have to do that to develop a complete story. You stick with that first person character, and the reader, if you lay the story out, can reverse engineer, can backfill the idea that what happened was, these people must have had a conversation because I'm looking at the effect and I can figure out the cause. I can, trust your reader to understand the other way around. The reason you get stuck is because you're fixed in thinking the story has to be deployed, laid out on the page in a certain way, and it doesn't. But wanting to step away from first person, usually because of an antagonist, or usually because of a plot twist, or usually because there's something substantial happening, this doesn't really seem to happen for insignificant reasons, is a common problem. It's a real common problem, but it's also a fixable problem, because you just need to think about what that end result information is. I need to show the reader that these two characters talked because what they talked about plays out later in the story. Okay, so it's about the content of their conversation. What's another way? What's another place in the story? What's another vehicle for delivering the content of that conversation? Not necessarily verbatim, but the subject matter. What's another way to get that subject matter to the reader? Because it doesn't have to come directly from their mouths, spoken at the time they say it, for the reader to understand what it was, right? You don't, even if you're writing in present tense, you don't have to stenographically detail or transcribe every inch of everything as it happens in real time. Trust the reader that if you give them effects, they'll be able to figure out the causes from context. That's why you're getting stuck. You are wrecking your POV trying to be a completionist. Go back to the story, go back to the point of view, move the story forward, figure out how you can get that information to your narrating character, to your first-person character, even if the discovery by the character is made at the same time as the discovery by the reader. We all learn about it at the same time. What do you mean it's his sister? That's going to have way more impact for both character and reader alike. It's worth a try. It's a occasionally a tough thing to think about. Sometimes it means you got to change the way you interpret or develop your own story, but it's worth practicing. Great question. Love that question. How are you guys doing? You guys all right? Do anything exciting today? Got any weekend plans? I've never asked that because usually I talk to you either after weekends or midweek, and it seems like we are miles away from those things. Anybody got any weekend plans? Anybody querying this weekend? It's usually the first weekend in February is a strong query weekend for fantasy books and science fiction novels. Just cause there's no like magic thing happening, but anybody doing any writing? How's that going? Anybody want to complain and stuff? Ooh, weekend plans, a write-in type thing tomorrow. Oh, that reminds me, we're going to take a detour for a minute because it's hella early and I'm on question 10 and it's only been an hour. There was an article in, don't laugh, I read this, it's weird. In the Spanish version of Business Insider, there was an article this week. Yes, I read things in different languages. There was an article about medical students who use Twitch to hold study sessions. Now because it's Business Insider and they're capitalist. They're talking about how much money they make, and this one girl makes X amount of money. This one guy makes XYZ amount of money or whatever. But they're talking about building an audience, building a community, and just using the Pomodoro method. So like 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off over a couple hours to study about stuff, to like med students. So they're going over exams, they're going over test prep, all that stuff. And they're using that time quietly. Maybe there's music lightly on in the background. And in the past, I've been present for other people's writing streams, like they're actively typing. I've always felt a little anxious in that space, like I've intruded, like I've snuck into a thing that should be more private. All of a sudden I'm seeing them in a vulnerable way, not like in a fun, flirty, hey, how you doing way, like, oh, your butt looks nice kind of way, but more like I've breached some kind of security. I've gotten past the defenses somehow. But I've been really thinking about this in terms of a write-in, because I am looking to grow. I am looking to grow the audience. I am looking to help more people. And I know I do a lot of talking in these streams, like a ton of talking. And it's good. I like talking. I love this. I mean, I don't always love the sound, the tone of my voice, but I like the act of talking. But I've been toying with, and one of the things I'm going to toy with this weekend is, maybe I'll just throw everything on and like sit, because I've got reading to do, I've got writing to do, I've got to write a report on a book I just edited. There's some videos I want to finish and prep I want to finish for the newsletter I'm going to start putting out. I've got loads of things I can do, and I thought about trying to essentially simulcast it. And I've been thinking about this article for a couple days now, and thinking about a write-in, thinking about sitting there and, although the term makes me uncomfortable, but co-working, because it just seems awkward, because I have this strange, like I mentioned, I have this strange sense that some of the work feels intimate to me and vulnerable. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be yelled at. I also don't want to be like on camera making like a weird face as I sit and try to pay attention to something. It's a little embarrassing. I believe the kids would refer to that as a derpy face. Yeah, I did actually ask a kid what that meant so that I could use that phrase correctly. But yeah, I don't want to embarrass myself, but at the same time, I'm thinking about expanding the number of things randomly. Write-ins, co-writing things. That's sort of the stuff I'm thinking about. I hope it goes well for you, no matter whatever it is you decide to work on, Jesse. I hope it brings you some success and joy. You deserve it. Anybody else? Anybody doing anything? Anybody like blowing something up? Any fights we're getting into? It's a weird question, I know, but I have learned this week, especially from the beginning part of this week, that I am frequently hardwired for a fight. I'm not always good. I don't always win, but I will go down swinging. And I do love to argue. I don't know. Maybe that's the old immature me coming back out. But yeah, I've been really. It's been a contemplative week. Let's call it that. But yeah, if you have got weekend plans, I hope they go well for you. I hope the weather wherever you are, if you're experiencing this giant U.S. storm, I hope it has moved swiftly for you, and that either the snow or rain or slush or whatever has abated. I hope if you are overseas that you are well and safe. I hope whatever you decide to do to spend your time, it's good for you. Other writing questions, issues, etc. I'm sorry we're flying right through this. I really didn't mean to. Maybe that's just new night nerves. We're gonna go back to Wednesday starting next week for sure. But yeah, I apologize if this one's a little brief. Feel free to bring up a topic if you so desire. I'd be more than happy to go off. I'm just double checking here. The hell is that? I'm just going through, like, making sure I got everything great. I got a ton of delightful spammy DMs from, I'm sure, Russian robots who were not at all interested in meeting me or caring about me. But yeah, I have to say I was genuinely surprised to have people here. I've got a random topic. Text-based role-playing. Oh, we're going back in the day now. Text-based role-playing, helping people develop their writing skills early on. Yes. I will tell you an embarrassing story. How's that? So a very, very long time ago, in the before times, before the Empire, I frequently used, oh God, we're really going to date ourselves now, Yahoo. Remember Yahoo? Yahoo had Yahoo forums and Yahoo chat. And I frequently engaged in what I could only describe as a combination text LARP, but it was also just prolonged role play sessions. You played a heavily modified version of a game, usually like Vampire the Masquerade or other World of Darkness related games. That might be too inside for some people. You basically pretended to be a vampire or a werewolf or a ghost or something. And it was an outlet. It was a creative outlet. You got to be your character. You got to emote things. And this was long before, like, you could do it on Discord, I guess. It would be an RP server nowadays. I was into that stuff. It was great. My brother was into it. Some of my friends, some of his friends were into it. It was a lot of fun. It had really rigid and strange social rules. It was also, given the time in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was also a sexual undercurrent to it. Everybody was just, looking for opportunities to, like, pleasure themselves or engage in some kind of cyber sex activity. But it was a lot of fun. It did improve. I think it really did make a difference, not only as a creative outlet to be like, oh, I want to be this creature or something and play a game and pretend to be a thing. I think it did foster writing strength because the ability you had, your quality of play was dependent on how well you wrote. And of course, as anything would online, it became very cliquish and there were cool kids and not cool kids and stuff. But your quality of play really was impacted by how well you wrote, and your ability to write, both in terms of speed, how quickly could you type and how quickly could you say things and not cheat using like macros or auto text or something, but how quickly you could write proficiently and how smoothly you could convey feelings and evoke things and develop scenes made a difference. I think text-based role-playing, even more so than like MMO role-playing, which is still, they're valid. They're all very valid forms of expression. But if you're looking to concretely develop writing skills, text-based roleplay, even if it's forum posts or PBEM, now we're really dating ourselves. anything where you get to convey the actions of a fantastic character in a fantastic situation, anything where you get to have that creative outlet, I think can be a great use for developing writing skills. I look back fondly for a number of reasons, some intimate, some not. But I look back fondly on those times because even though, like, it was essentially glorified digital high school some days. Oh, we don't talk to those people. We had a fight with them, or this group isn't talking to that group, or this one's this and this one's that, or whatever. And people got very hostile. And when things fell out, they fell out in like, I mean, I remember having a guy threaten to find me because that was a big thing back in like the early 2000s. I'll find you. I know where you are online. I'll find you and I'll, grievously harm you or end your life or some big hyperbolic thing. And I think it was mostly just scare tactics, but there was a lot of that. But it really did, when you get all the politicking and you get all the stupid drama aside, I think role play, whether it's spoken or acted out or written or whatever, I think it makes a profound difference in your writing skills. I think it encourages you and develops you and pushes you and challenges you and gives you a material reward. If you write well and you're playing your game and you're enjoying yourself and you're pulled into the story and you're actively contributing to the story, and even if there's no like dice-based mechanics to supplement skills or an engine or something, if you're just having a good time, and oh, by the way, the consequence of that good time is your writing improves, great. I miss that stuff. It was a huge time sink. I mean, I was in school at the time, so I'd blow off classes. I'd do it on the weekends. I had way less things demanding attention. So I could get drunk or I could get high and then I could, go play a game or pass out or do whatever. But, yeah, I think it profoundly has an impact. I miss it. It was very formative for me. I met a lot of weird, kooky people. It was a very, like, I met a guy. I don't think I should say his name. I don't even know if he's alive. I don't know. But I met a guy who faked having a brain tumor so that he could cheat on his wife with a variety of barely legal people. It was weird. It was so weird. And I have to say, like, I got very drunk with his wife on a few occasions, and I'm 99% certain she totally knew what he was up to. But I remember that stuff. I don't really think about it a lot, but I do remember. I have hazy snapshots in my head. But yeah, I made friends. One or two of them I still vaguely talk to for a number of reasons. But yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that stuff. I was a jerk. I got ostracized from that group because this is so weird. I got ostracized from that group because I said, "Hey, if we're going to play this game and we're going to have like some of the trappings of this game, maybe we should buy the book and use some of the mechanics so that we can resolve some of these issues, right? If we're playing this game, let's play this game." And like I bought the book. I had the book. But I bought like supplements and stuff, and I tried to like add mechanics to this thing, and I tried to like figure out how to write rules to adapt. Like, okay, so the text says this. If we were around a table in person, we do this thing, but it's Yahoo chat. So maybe if we just change colors or something, or break it down this way or that way. I remember I got into an argument with. Again, I'm a dude on the internet in the early 2000s. I got into an argument with a guy about whether or not this one particular firearm my character used had a hammer. Again, I don't know the gun terms. It's the thing that presses into the chamber with the firing pin. The thing that you cock with your thumb. A hammer. The way I described it, he had an issue with me calling it like flanged or something. Like I tried to describe its shape in terms of the action, and he was like, "Well, that kind of gun doesn't have it." And he like threw a tantrum. It was weird, but I remember that very clearly because he got really mad, and I had to like go online and find a picture of the item and go, "Look, that's the thing I'm talking about." But yeah, it was wild. It was just wild. If I were 20 again, oof. First of all, we wouldn't be doing chats, I'll tell you that. But if I were 20 again, I'd probably get back to it. I loved it. I had a really good time. It gave me a chance to be mopey. It gave me a chance to be melodramatic. I went from that to working in radio, where I definitely got to be like a character and blur the line between shoot and work, and had a lot of fun. It was a good time. I haven't thought about that in a while. Thanks, Jesse. That was great. Appreciate it. Good stuff. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to do? I don't have an agenda. We only got like 2 questions left. I feel bad. I feel like, I've been hyping this thing all day. I've had a good day. I want to... apparently, according to the Twitch terms of service, I can't start like telling you, so this one time when I was not sober, like I shouldn't be doing that. So I don't quite know what to do, but we've been flying, and I just want to make sure everybody's all right. What was that guy's one? It was weird. I met people who have now I haven't thought about this in ages. I met people who have gone on to like very successful specific careers in very creative fields at like big major companies. And I remember them when I'm like, "Oh, I got drunk with that guy once." Neat. Not all the stories are positive. Sometimes it's, "Oh, I remember that guy. I slept with his girlfriend." Not my finest moment. From what I remember, it wasn't hers either. But, yeah. Good times. Good times. I was a jerk back then. I would really... Oof. Me now and me then, we'd be arguing. Yeah, good stuff. I will probably detail some of that on the Discord, because yeah, it's weird. It's a good time. Other questions, issues, comments, etc. I don't even know who's still here. Let's see. Let's click the button, shall we? Anybody? I do want to point out, as I knock on wood, for a Friday, the signal's been really stable. I'm really, really impressed. Cool. Shall we move on? Are we ready to go? Shall we keep moving? Question 10. Should I make my own book cover if I can't afford a cover artist? All right, first of all, I used to say for stuff like this, I used to say imagine my face. So instead, I'm just going to do this. All right? Just imagine this face. Just because no. Don't no. Please. And that's not because you are automatically going to be bad at it. It's not that you are a bad artist. It's not that you are a bad person. But there is a particular set of skills. There is a particular level to quality and expectation that I understand you can't afford a cover artist. But you can use a combination of things like stock art and a lot of, low cost, low investment assistance You can buy pre-made covers and prefab them out. There's loads of different services you can employ. There's loads of different software and websites you can use to mitigate some of the potential, what's the word I want to use? Potential problems? Let's call them potential problems. The potential problems of making your own cover and having it look like you've made your own cover. You know that show on, I think it's Netflix, where it swears it's nice, but really what they end up doing is mocking people's efforts to duplicate a thing. You see it sometimes in like fail videos because, you know, lacking empathy is what social media encourages us to do. That's a situation I'd like to have you avoid. I don't want you mocked or derided or feel worse because your cover is affecting your sales. It's affecting the production of your art. It's affecting your success. So I understand that if you can't afford a cover artist, there's a temptation to just like, I can just do it myself. I know you can. And if you do that, if you go that route, please be careful. Please use as many tools and available things as possible so that you don't have to stare at a blank screen or a big white square and just try and fill it with something. Please tread carefully in this space. If you can't afford the artist, though, the vast majority of artists I can think of off the top of my head who would be available and can be available to help you design your book cover, and I'm thinking of 6 or 7 off the top of my head, they have payment plans. They'd work out a deal. They're willing to work. They're flexible people. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be okay with like low valuing their effort. You can't say, hey, can I just do this for like $4 wrinkly dollars I have? You're going to have to, you know, pay them for their labor. They want to be respected the same way that you want to be respected. But most of the artists I can think of off the top of my head are willing to work with someone and a budget. But that doesn't mean you should go into this conversation, into this business relationship, having a budget of 0 and thinking that everybody else needs to bend or yield to your 0, as opposed to coming at this and going, here's what I have so far. This is what I want to do. This is where I'm trying to get. It's a business relationship, so you need to show that responsibility, show that maturity, show that foresight and planning, and then go from there. Most artists I know have some kind of arrangements available, whether it's split the payment up or, you know, delay it a certain number of time or fraction it somehow. Loads of different ways, loads of different things can be done. You don't have to, you know, throw your hands up. Oh God, I'll never get it. Just because, you know, you don't have the whole lump sum all at once. But if you want to just avoid that, you can make your own. But I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell other people when they talk to me about like, well, if I should just edit my own work. You can cut your own hair too. Just remember that you have the back half of your head that you can't see that might be tricky unless you're just totally taking everything off. Or you can fix your own car. Sure. But it might be temporary. It might not be the best fix. It might end up causing you more problems later. So sure, you can do these things. And I'm not, if you've got the ability, the skills, and the tools, sure, go ahead, give it a shot. You got nothing to lose, right? Because you're starting with nothing, so anything you do is an improvement. But if you're doing this purposely to avoid an expense, like you're just being cheap, don't be cheap. This is your work, right? This is something you're trying to put out into the world. Do you really want a cover that holds it back? Or do you want to make this the best it can be? Are you willing to care enough? Are you willing to be brave enough? Are you willing to take a big enough risk to produce the best quality work throughout the whole process? The best manuscript, the best you can make it. Not perfect, the best you can do, written the best way, polished the best number of times, polished the best way possible, got the best help, the best feedback, the best criticism, the best editing, the best cover, the best organization, to give it absolutely everything you can as best you can, are you willing to be that brave and be that diligent and be that disciplined? Because if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to go that far, if you're willing to put in that work and do those steps and not just take the easy, rushed way out because it just sounds like work and it's not happening fast enough, or I just want it done, or this sucks, or I don't like it. This is a job. You're doing a job. It's a fun job, but it's still sometimes a job. And the work you put in at any stage in this process directly affects and sometimes determines the results you get. So talk to your cover artist. Tell them what's going on. See if they'll work with you to some degree, but don't go empty-handed and go, well, I don't have a budget, so what do you got for me? Bring something. Show up. Do your best. And if that doesn't work, then yeah, give it a shot. There's plenty of tutorials for various programs. There's plenty of websites that you can slap something together with. You can if you want to. Just be careful. Good question. Good question. Oh, man, it's a 1-2 punch. I bet there are very economical book artists on Fiverr. Yeah, totally. A gig economy, although exploitative and destructive, does have momentary benefits, at least until society collapses. So, yeah, there are economical book artists on Fiverr. I can't speak for any off the top of my head. I don't use Fiverr for book covers. But I've used Fiverr for graphic design. I've used Fiverr for input on website plans or sales copy. I've used Fiverr for loads of different things. It wasn't that expensive. It cost me, yeah, it wasn't like, here's $1, go away. You know, sometimes it was $20, sometimes it was $50, sometimes it was $75 or $175, and I had to save up for it or whatever. But, you know, a book cover, it's not unreasonable to have, to have a cost for a book cover somewhere between $250 and $1,000 in some cases, if not more, depending on complexity and color and medium and size, the number of permutations and all the stuff you have going on with it. It's not a small cost. So if you can find somebody, maybe not to undercut that $250 mark, but keep it well under, getting something large scale, like you can keep it under $600. Yeah, totally. There's plenty of artists you can work with and look for if you're willing to go look for them and work with them. Fiverr's, for as much grief as I'll give them for being somewhat predatory or encouraging like a long-term we're ruining mankind kind of vibe, they are useful as, a way to connect people who have a skill with people who need that skill. It's not, it's not the bad thing. You can get an ebook cover for less than $100. Yeah. It's not going to be amazing because you do get what you pay for, but it will be a book cover. And who knows? You got to give people a chance, right? It might cost you less than $100, but that doesn't mean it's going to be like 2 stick figures and like a smiley emoji. It could be really, look, I can't draw for hot shit. I can't, even if you gave me 17 dots, I couldn't draw a straight line. You can hand me a ruler and I'll find a way to screw it up. So I'm your low bar of entry. But if I can get $100 and it creates something that for me is impressive, something for me that not only solves that immediate problem, hey, I have a book cover now, but it's good and I don't mind showing it off. And then I can go one extra step and go, hey, this thing only cost me $100, you guys. Go check this artist out. He's fantastic. They're great. Love her work, whatever it might be. All of a sudden now you're helping 2 people out. Now it's you benefit from their work and you're giving them more opportunity. So it might be not the most like, oh my God, it's the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel for my book cover. But it might not be the worst thing in it. It might not be the worst thing ever. It'll do its job. It'll be okay. don't discount it. Like, you can't get it both ways, right? You can't say, oh, well, all the good artists are too expensive, and then say, I don't want to get a cheap thing. You can't have it both ways. You get what you pay for, but that doesn't mean necessarily that you're only going to get garbage unless you pay top dollar. That's not a thing I'm willing to say, at least when it comes to books and stuff. Yes, there are some people out there who charge very little and who do very little as a result. Absolutely. There's always going to be that. There's always going to be somebody who charges an arm and a leg and then does the barest minimum, takes the money and disappears. But there's also going to be people who charge a reasonable amount of money and do a reasonable amount of work, and people who charge a reasonable amount of money and go above and beyond, and people who charge very little and go above and beyond for any number of reasons. But you have to go look for them. Give Fiverr a try. I think it'll surprise you. Now, side note on that, if you don't know what you want your cover to be, you are making this much harder on yourself. You have to go into this whenever you're designing art. You have to go in knowing what it is you kind of want a little bit somewhere. More details better than none, but you got to know something. Don't just roll up and go, I want a planet. Give me a planet with a spaceship. And then walk away and go, all right, come back to me in 2 days. Like, you got to give them something. They're there to do a job for you. They're there to help you out. Help them help you. Okay? Good stuff. Great stuff. But now we're here. Now we're on question 11. Should I just use beta readers if I can't afford an editor? All right, we're gonna have the same conversation twice apparently. A beta reader is not an editor. I'm gonna get right up on this mic. A beta reader is not an editor. It's a different thing you're asking. Yes, I know. Loads of people exploit their beta readers, paying them nothing and demanding that their beta readers act as copy editors, catching typos and fixing commas and changing grammar and doing superficial things in the sense that they're getting their book looked at. I know. It's a dumb thing. It's a mistake. It's a problem. It's a pervasive problem brought on by people who are unwilling to affect serious change in a culture and community. I know. But no, you should not use just use beta readers if you can't afford an editor, because you might have problems that extend beyond. You need a comma here. This is a typo. You might have serious developmental problems, serious narrative issues, serious contradictory information, serious problems in trimming your word count down, or fattening your story, or fixing your climax, or developing your arcs, or things that an editor can help point out and assist you in some way, shape, or form in improving or affecting. It is unreasonable for a beta reader to be able to do that. It is suspect for them to suggest it. Like, I would not expect the average beta reader to sit there and go, you have a particular, you've got a collapsing narrative problem, or you have a tone problem, and be able to not only identify where you have that tone problem, but how you have the tone problem, how you got there, and how to fix it. I think that's asking a lot of somebody who you're also hoping says your book is good. I wouldn't put that on them. I wouldn't demand that labor of them. I just wouldn't. And no, I wouldn't try to exploit my beta reader, because I need my beta reader to tell me that as a reader, how's this book? That's their job. An editor's job is to not sit there and be impressed by your writing, or be impressed that you had a clever twist and they pat you on the head. Your editor's job is to help you produce the best book possible. They're not going to be scared off by spoilers. They're not going to be, charmed by your aggressive marketing campaign or your plans to do X, Y, and Z in a multi-book series with all these hoops. They want you to tell the best story possible. They're going to help you tell the best story possible. So use the editor. Again, just like we talked about before, every editor I know, Every single one of them, even the ones who don't like me. Every editor I know has payment plans or scaling pricing, or they can negotiate some kind of deal. Every single one I can think of has that. You just need to ask. They're not going to know unless you say something. Because we're not mind readers. I understand it's embarrassing. Believe me, I'm somebody who has to routinely ask family and friends for like $10 for pills. Or could I please have $20 so I can feed this cat? I understand it's awkward to talk about money because our culture has decided that somehow if we talk about money, there's some kind of failure attached to it, even though money is made up. But I get it. It's hard. I know. But you can find some kind of editorial service to accommodate some kind of budget. You just have to look. Maybe it's on Fiverr. Maybe there's an actual editing person out there. Maybe there's an editor listening to this who's looking for work and looking to establish themselves and looking to grow their skill pool, who's unwilling, and frankly, they shouldn't be charging zero, but they want to start working and they want to grow their business and they want to get their foot out there and their shingle on the wall. So maybe they're willing to take on some work for a reduced cost so that everybody benefits. It's not ideal. You don't want to totally do this forever, but you can find people interested in doing the editing who are not your beta readers. Your beta readers have enough on their plate. Please stop asking too much of them. That's not their job. Their job is to read. It's in the name. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. It is an excellent 1-2 punch when we're talking about covers and stuff. And I understand that there is, I am somebody who is frequently hit with financial hardship. I get it. But more often than not, I get this question from people who are just unwilling to spend more than I get this question from people who don't have the money. That's a different problem. I get pretty frustrated with it because this is, again, a job and a business. You're going to have to spend some stuff to produce some stuff. Until we all wake from the collective delusion that debt and money are imaginary and they're traps that we've tied moral obligation to for reasons. Until we all get over that, yeah, you're going to have to spend some money. Isn't your work worth it? Aren't you worth it? Or is this just bluster? Is this just you going through the motions so that you can tell people, oh, this is what I'm doing. Look at me, look at me. Invest in your work. A good editor, a good coach, a good cover artist, a good business relationship like that will extend past one book. The majority, all right, so here's the thing, right? The majority, the vast majority of people I work with, either editing, coaching, or marketing, or whatevering, the majority of the people I work with, I don't just work with them on one book. Yeah, there are some people who come to me for help with a query letter, and I help them once, and off they go, and everything's cool, and good for them. That's great. And there are some people who come in for one project one time, and it's a couple weeks or months or whatever, but then it's gone. But the vast majority of people I talk to, no matter what they're writing, no matter what's going on, the vast majority of people come back book after book. Why? Because we did well the first time. They wrote better. They saw an improvement. They saw progress. They increased sales. They did better than they thought they could. They felt better about it. It was worth their time and investment. I'm not saying this to tell you that I'm great at my job. I'm telling you that there is a tangible benefit to developing a good relationship with people who can help you be better. And money should not be the obstacle for that. And you can find ways to have that conversation, to navigate that conversation, and work out a deal. You just have to talk about it. I have worked with some amazing people for, a third of my normal price. We've just spaced it out over time because that's what they could afford, and that's what I was willing to do. They still got the same amount of work. We still did a chapter at a time or whatever. We still talked for an hour, but we spaced it out to accommodate them because I wanted them to succeed. I'm only speaking for myself in this case, but I'm pretty sure that sort of attitude carries over. Lots of creatives I know, lots of people who work in service and creative-based fields, we want to help. You've got to give us a chance. And if that means we have to first navigate the awkward, hey, what about the money conversation, then we do that and we can get it out of the way. Same with the contract conversation. We get that stuff out of the way, and it sounds like it's scary. It's not. You just read a thing and sign a thing, and it tells you everything you need to know and fill in the blank forms. It's a lot easier than you think. And then once that's done, we can do whatever and help you succeed. So please don't exploit your beta readers. Please do better than that. On we go to our last question. And it's a biggie. By the way, if you're listening, that is glass 14 down, glass 15 started. That's good. Oh, that's good. I'm cheating. Glass 15 is a cup of iced tea. Gentle advice. I am so tired of getting rejections on my query and my manuscript. I don't know what's wrong, and I don't know how to fix whatever's not working. What do I do? I hear this a lot. And I wish everybody's answer was the same. Hey, just fix this one sentence. Hey, I'll give a clickbaity thing. Stop using this one word. I wish it was like that, but it's not. I can't say specifically what it is, what phrase, what words, what concept, what idea that is causing you to not get the response you want. But if you are getting rejected on your query and your manuscript, it's probably how you are presenting the information more so than what the information is. Because if they're rejecting your query, they're not looking at the manuscript. They won't even get that far. It's sort of like looking at the menu of a restaurant before you walk in the door, before you take your table, and then realizing like they don't serve anything I want, and then leaving. You made your decision already. One of the things you can do, let's answer this question in a couple different ways. On one hand, there are people you can talk to who specialize in working with queries and working with manuscripts and working with writers in order to help you do your stuff better. That's the job of a writing coach, because it's not specifically limited to one manuscript, not specifically limited to the words within the book. It is a broader writing publishing topic. That's a writing coach. You can talk to a writing coach. You're listening to one talk to you now. You can talk to a writing coach who can help you put those pieces together and help you figure out how to do what you're going to do. That's one thing. Another thing you can do. Stop in the short term. Take 2 days and back up. Just stop. I don't care how many things you have on submission. I don't care how many things are out there. I don't care the number of times you're ferociously tapping that key, waiting for things to, refresh. Stop. Back up. Take a couple days. Take a week. Don't deal with it. If you're going to get rejections, you get rejections. Just take them, delete them, move on. Let it go. After some amount of time, I like a week for this, but you can adjust that time as needed. But please do it more than 2 days. After some amount of time, write a query from scratch. Brand new. I understand you might still have some stuff on submission. I get it. But write a query from scratch. If your problem is that you're not great at writing queries, well, then the act of writing the query will reveal that to you, and you'll know you have a problem doing it because you'll have a problem writing it. It won't come together. It will feel messy. It will take forever. You would much rather like clean your bathroom or really get invested in flossing or finally finish all the 15 things on your to-be watched list on some streaming service. You will find reasons not to. You will come up with a bad query. You will struggle with it. You will swear up and down you will never do it again. You will find reasons not to query. And if that's the case, then you can go do things. You can listen to YouTube videos. I have one. You can come to streams and ask about querying. You can take classes in different websites. You can ask people who have queried. You can find books on the subject. There are loads of different resources available to you who can not so much type the query for you, but at least teach you different things to put in your query making toolbox that may lead you, hopefully, to producing a better query that will get fewer rejections. And the same is true for if your query is okay, but your manuscript is the problem. There are books and classes and videos and services and people you can talk to, editors, coaches, who can help you go through the beginning of your book and help you do whatever you need to do to get it in better shape. This may, I can't guarantee it, but it may lead to a reduction in rejection. But that's not all you can do. Here's another big thing you can do. You could just quit. You don't have to keep going. Now, if you totally quit, if you totally walk away, you're not going to get any of the rewards or good feelings you have been seeking. But it is a thing you can do. And I'm bringing it up not to dissuade you, not to say, hey, you should just quit. You suck. See you later. Bye-bye. But I'm getting you, I'm wanting you, I'm challenging you to look at this and go, this feeling, this sensation, this idea that you have that this is hard right now, that it's not going anywhere, this frustration, this is a regular part of this business. You can be a published author. You can self-pub. You can trad-pub. You can do whatever. You're still going to run into this feeling. And how you respond to this feeling, either by action or inaction, is going to say a lot about you, way more than it's going to say about the work. I'm asking you, if I may quote a very famous poet of our time, I am asking you to chiggity check yourself before you riggedy wreck yourself. Make sure this is what you want to do. And then write a new query from scratch. Get help for your query. Get help on your manuscript. Get help for both. Take a deep breath. Focus yourself. Maybe you need a good pep talk. Maybe you need some time away from this to come back and kind of repair the burnout you may be experiencing. Maybe you need somebody to steer you in a new direction. Maybe you need to find new people and places to query. If that's the case, there are resources you can use, indexes, Writers Market, Publishers Weekly, different resources and things online and in print that will give you different places to look at. You are not without options. If you are listening to this, and chances are you are, I don't think, to the best of my knowledge, you are currently listening to this like you're not in chat. But chances are you are listening to this and you are wondering fine, you've got all these options, but what's the best to do? If you're really, really wanting to move on this, come find me Monday. I have some time. We can talk. If you don't want to talk to me, I can steer you in the direction of somebody who'd be very happy to talk to you and help you. I got loads of options. But this is a common problem. And the frustration you're feeling is normal and regular. And you should do something about it. Chances are, it's not a specific concept, but it's how you're describing the concept. The idea for your book's great, but how you're telling people about it sucks. It's just not clicking. It makes sense to you because you know more the big picture. The reader doesn't know anything. And you're not helping them learn. Queries are hard sometimes. Openings in books are tough sometimes. But these are learnable, trainable, fixable things. You just need to seek the resources out there to help you do it better. But the first step, if you're feeling like super overwhelmed and you're totally tired and you're looking for tables to flip about all this, first thing to do, take a break, catch your breath. Slow down, refocus, and then make a decision. Do not necessarily act hyper impulsively, thinking that, the more dynamic and dramatic your action, the better off. It doesn't have to be that way. All right? If you want more help, let me know. I'm around. What a great question. Whew. Before we get out of here, are there any more questions from anybody? I see new people. I don't mean to call you out in like a, hey, new people way, but hey, new people. Questions? I do not know what the Monday night topic will be. There will be a Monday chat. I just don't know what it's going to be. I want to tell you one thing, and then we'll get out of here. One thing. So I love talking, you've noticed, and I love being interviewed. And I'm currently like answering an email interview. And it is surprisingly deep, like way more than I thought. One of the normally what happens is somebody's like, hey, can I interview you or whatever? And you sit down and you talk and you're just sort of there. And it's fine. It's cool. I love doing that. But if I have a chance to really sit down and like think about my answers and not just give like the immediate funny one or like something quick, like I can really sit down and like, okay, I'm going to like, what are some things you would do to this? And how about this? And how about that? If I sit down and think, I will write paragraphs. I've been very pleasantly surprised the last 2-3 days as I sit down to write this thing. Just what I have to say about interview questions. Think about, here's the takeaway. Think about this. What are the questions you wish somebody would ask you? Not just about your book, not just like, oh, well, what's your book about? But what are some questions you wish somebody would ask you about how you do what you do? What are some questions you wish somebody would ask you about why you do what you do? And take those answers, whatever they might be, and find some outlet for them. Maybe verbatim. Maybe you turn it into a blog post or a newsletter or something, or the subject of a quick video or some kind of hashtag content. Or maybe you take your answer and you turn it into marketing. You turn it into something where you use it to drive you forward. You rally the troops. You pick yourself up and you move forward. You do a lot. Maybe. Don't sleep on, don't dismiss the chance, the opportunity, the ability you have to take a fairly straightforward question and turn it into something that could mean something substantial to someone else. That's what I've been doing with this interview. It's not done yet. I will probably finish it tomorrow. One of the things I want to do when I was talking about those streams earlier, I might just sit here and like write the rest of the questions because they're good questions, but they're not necessarily easy, comfortable, quick answers. It's not like 6, next question, 12. Like I got to put thought into them. I love interviews that make me think. I love opportunities to to have to think before opening mouth and engaging brain. It's been on my mind a lot because I got asked. I know what the Monday night topic is now. Okay. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take one of the questions from the interview and I'm going to blow it out. I'm going to make it bigger and frame it for a good chat on Monday. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. Awesome. Love that. I'm going to write myself a note so I don't forget. Hang on. We're writing a note. Sweet. I even underlined it so you know it's serious. All right. Let's get out of here, shall we? To the outro. Well, that was a hell of a day, wasn't it? It was a good one. It was a fine Friday. We will be back to Mondays and Wednesdays next week. This was just sort of a crazy week where time was not on my side necessarily, but we're here now, and this was great. And thank you so much for letting me ramble about Yahoo RP chat and writing streams and Fiverr and editing and everything in between. Thank you so much for your questions. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you spending some Friday night with me. I do hope you have a good weekend. I do hope you take care of yourselves. I do hope you continue to create your art and feed your art and do the best you can to help yourself and other people around you. Remember, all power to all people. You are good enough to succeed if you are willing and able to believe in yourself. Remember that I believe in you. I love you. I care about you. I'm going to miss you. I mean, I'll see you on Monday. But I hope you do well. The next time I'm here will be February the 7th. That's Monday. And the next Writers Chat will be on February the 9th. That's next Wednesday. Until then, keep writing, keep feeding your heart. Don't give up. Fight fascism in all its corners. Do your best. I love you. And I'll talk to you guys very, very soon. See ya!